Hello, everyone. So this is the video for the syllabus as well as an introduction to myself, so that it's not as though you're being taught by a random AI. I wanted to just introduce myself by saying hello. I am Alex Levins, and I am your professor for OChem 1 this fall. And I just wanted to give you a quick little background about myself. So over here on the left, you can see this is my wife and I. So this is Hannah. We've been married for nearly 3 years now. And then this is our dog Cleo. She's a golden retriever, and she's going to be turning 2 within a couple weeks. So I am currently in my 5th year as a PhD student at The Ohio State University, but I am adjuncting this course because they needed me to do so, and I was happy to because I do want to go into teaching after all this is done. But on the side, I also do board game design. And so I have a couple of games that will be hitting the shelves within too long. So with that being said, we can hop right into looking at the syllabus and actually talking about some of the important things in the class. So let's hop right into it. So this year for Chemistry 365, sadly, it has to be asynchronous. I wish that we could do something different, but being in Ohio, I actually can't come in to actually teach the course, although I would rather do so. So everything's going to be asynchronous. I have never done an asynchronous course before, so bear with me as we go through. I will try to keep everything very well updated. That way it never feels like it's falling behind or anything like that. That being said, we can skip through a couple things and hop right into office hours. So every Wednesday and Friday from 2 to 3 p.m., I will be online in what should be a Microsoft Teams meeting that everyone can join. And so that will allow you to sort of come in, ask any questions you feel you need to ask within a space that's very casual. And hopefully it'll allow you to just get all those questions answered in that time. But if not, I also can answer questions over email. And so my email is alex.levins@betheluniversity.edu. Any question that you can send over email, I should be able to answer them. For some of the longer questions, I might refer you to talking with me at office hours or just hopping on a separate call. That being said, for office hours, just so everyone is aware, you do not have to schedule any time with me. I will just be in the meeting at that time, and you can join anytime between 2 and 3. But 3 p.m. will be a relatively hard cutoff. I might be able to go a little bit longer, but past that, I do have obligations at the end of those days. Moving on, we do have, here's our little assignments with point distributions. I wanted to bring this to your attention. That way everyone knows what's going on. So we have weekly completion assignments. So these are going to be very simple. I will send them out as what are sort of problem sets. And it'll just be over the material that was covered that week in lecture. They will be due at the end of the day Friday, so probably midnight on Friday night, and they are each worth 10 points. The course total is out of 1,000 points, so that is something to keep in mind. By the end of it, these weekly completion assignments will be worth 10% of your grade. The next thing are these weekly quizzes. There are also 10 of these, and they are directly tied to the completion assignments. So these assignments will be over all of that stuff that lecture week. The weekly quizzes will be the following Monday, so you will have time over the weekend to actually study up on this stuff. And then that quiz will relate directly to that material as well. So each of those quizzes are going to be worth 20 points apiece. They will be given or they will be open all day long on Mondays. However, with that being said, they will be capped to where you're only able to have it open for 30 minutes, but the quizzes should only take you 20 minutes, hopefully. That way you have a little bit of extra buffer room for being online. The next category we have is the lab points. So this is with Dr. Lackinen, of course. He is the one designating all of the lab report totals and such, but in the end, they will all be combined to make up 200 points of the class total. So lab will make up 20% of your final grade. That being said, keep in mind that with a lab and lecture combined course, if you fail one, you fail the other, and you will need to retake it the following year. So just remember that you do have to pass the lab in order to pass the lecture as well. All of the other points, so that's 50% of the grade. The other 50% will come from the exams. There will be two exams during the semester and then one final exam. These will all be cumulative. So that means that all of the material from exam one can be present on exam two and can be present on the final exam. But I will come right out and say that the exam two and the final exam will focus more on the material that was covered after the previous exam than it will all of the material. So all material is fair game, but it will still be focused. And so that'll make up all of the points for the class. And then looking a little further, I do have the or the exam dates listed here. I do not have the final exam listed because I don't have that information yet. But essentially, for the exams, these will be given during class time, and they will just be 50 minutes long, and they will be in person in the classroom, which is S18. So these will be proctored by either the TA for the lab, possibly Dr. Lackinen, or I've talked a little bit with Dr. Weekland, and she might be able to proctor these as well. We'll talk a little bit more about them as we get closer to those exam dates. The first one's at the very end of September, so you have some time, and then the other one is at the start of November. So keep that in mind. The grading scale for the course is the standard grading scale that you have probably seen many times before. 100 to 93 is an A, 92 to 90 is an A minus. The B range is all the way from 80 to 89. C range is 70 to 79. That being said, this can change. I don't fully expect it to, because I'm going to try and make sure that everything is appropriately uh, made for the challenge and for the average. So that being said, if I make a major mistake in terms of making something way too hard to where people have struggles with it, we can have the grading scale change to favor the students. It will never disfavor you. So essentially, a 93 will always be an A, but there is the potential that that A range can increase to include things like maybe down to 91%. But again, at the moment, assume that it is this. Do not assume that it will change. Just know that it can. I have the opportunity to do that if need be. A couple pieces of important information from the syllabus. I have the textbook listed here. The textbook solutions, there is no solutions manual, which is great for everyone, saves you some money. But instead, all of the solutions are worked out on YouTube. So this guy, Organic Chemistry by Mullins, that's the page for it. Essentially, Richard Mullins actually works out by hand in a video format showing you how to approach the problem, what the answers to all the problems are, and essentially it gives you a better idea of how to tackle all of these questions. So I I can't say it enough. This is going to be a fantastic resource for you, and I highly recommend going through these chapters and whenever I assign these textbook problems to do them and also see how Richard Mullins goes through and figures out the answers to these questions. It'll help a lot. Couple other things. There's a molecular model kit. So the model kit's going to be really useful whenever we get to the stereochemistry chapter. It is optional, so you don't have to buy it, but I highly recommend it. There's a really cheap one on Amazon that I linked here. It's only like, I think it was 16 bucks. It was on sale whenever I saw it. So I highly recommend it. You can also use your friends because, of course, you don't have to have one for yourself if you don't need it. And any model kit will work well. So if you borrowed one from someone else, that's perfectly fine. Other than that, Technology requirements, I mean, you just need a computer with internet access because, of course, this is an asynchronous course. Okay, some other stuff. I will be posting the lecture notes along with the lecture video onto Canvas. I will also be posting every week an outline that contains reading assignments. So the pages in the book that we'll really be covering, practice problems as well as textbook problems that you'll have to tackle. So I highly recommend keeping up with those. Again, these are not all required, it's just highly encouraged because all of your points are going to be coming from these other pieces, such as the quizzes and the assignments that are actual just completion assignments. Those are going to be the required stuff. These are just to help you along. And again, I highly recommend doing it because this course is not necessarily a normal course in terms of how it forces you to think, I would say. I also list all of the chapters that we'll be going through in the book. You'll notice that we don't go through every single one, and that is on purpose. Not every single one is going to be necessary for us to look at during OChem 1. We will look at more of them during OChem 2, or at least if I'm still teaching with you, we will. But other than that, these are the ones that we're going to be looking at this time around. Underneath that, we have the course schedule, and this is what I wanted to take a second to look at. Essentially, if you look through the schedule itself, it is a ton of lecture videos. You'll notice that on exam days, there is no lecture video, and then also on all of the breaks, there are no lecture videos. But other than that, everything does have a video that I'll be posting. You can get ahead on some of these, but I do have to make them as we go along, so it's not like I will necessarily have everything posted um, at all times, but I will be getting ahead. That way, throughout the semester, there should be more and more posted for later on. That way, everything gets prepared in advance. The only time that we will be meeting as a full class will be on 12/6, and that is going to be a synchronous review for the final exam. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I want everyone around so that we can kind of go over the major topics we're going to see on the final and hopefully give you guys a little bit of a better feeling in terms of just cutting it off with a bunch of asynchronous videos. Now then, the assignment schedule is a little important because this is, of course, where all of your assignments are going to come in. You'll notice that essentially it is just Mondays and Fridays. There's a Wednesday in here, but that's due to fall break. But essentially on Fridays is when you will see assignments are due. This first Friday, there is no assignment due. You don't have to worry about it. I will be posting some practice problems, but those are not required. But essentially, almost every other Friday, there is an assignment due. Now, that being said, there are a couple times that there's not. That is the Friday before an exam. I do not have assignments that will be due. That's just going to give you time to actually study and figure stuff out. And then there's also a little gap here where we don't have a quiz on this Monday because we're going to be covering a lot after exam 2. That's going to be important for the following quiz, which is quiz 9. So just remember that with these assignments, whenever you see an assignment with a number beside it, and it always will tell you what that assignment is about. It is directly correlated to the content that will be found on a quiz of the same number. So for assignment 1, it's about drawing structures in formal charge, but for quiz 1, it is going to also be about drawing structures and formal charge, so on and so forth. So hopefully this gives you a good idea of how the class is kind of going to roll, and we will go through hopefully have a good time while figuring everything out. And again, if you have any questions, you can feel free to email me. But I highly recommend staying on top of the course as we go along, because even though it's asynchronous, I do want you all to succeed. And OChem is not the easiest course to do asynchronously, but I will try my best to make sure all of the material is there for you guys to succeed. That being said, go ahead and watch lecture video 1. It'll be a good intro to what OChem's all about. And yeah, I'll talk to you there.